Welcome back, guys, everybody out there in the world. This is the Pokemon Purveyors podcast. My name is Giuliano, aka Jules, and I have my co host here with me, Shad, aka PokeNav. Shad, how are you doing, my friend?
Jules, I am doing good, brother. I can't believe we're on episode number 2 already.
It's
It seems
crazy.
like, it seems like this has been such a process and such a long time in the making. And just getting that first episode out there, which obviously we hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found that valuable and you're sticking around. And the same people that listened to that first episode are joining us
Yes,
on
exactly.
this second. Hopefully, we didn't scare you away from the very beginning, but I am doing well, man. It is so good to be back and so good to be talking Pokemon with my fellow purveyor.
Yes, exactly. Guys, pretty much as we said it in the first episode, we're gonna keep saying it in every episode going forward. If you like collecting, investing, talking about Pokemon, the TCG, the playing aspect, listening to people being interviewed, just getting expertise out there, just knowledge, and you love Pokemon in general, this is the place to be. I and Shad, the dangerous duo, will be there for you every step of the way. Any questions you guys have, you send them to us. We're going to try and get them answered for you guys as best as we can on every podcast. And at the end of this episode, actually, guys, we will answer already the first 5 or 6 questions that we have received. I would like to thank you guys on behalf of myself and Shad as well for those questions. So hopefully you guys enjoy the answers to the questions as well.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And everybody that sent those questions in, again, thank you guys. We appreciate the support thus far. If you guys are watching us over on our YouTube channel, we've already got a tremendous amount of support on there. Our platform is growing within the podcasting realm as well. It's kind of a process, so getting approved on each platform does take a little bit of time. But probably by the time this particular episode is up, we should probably be on most platforms out there. You should be able to find us just about anywhere. So again, thank you guys so much. And just know as we move on into the future, things are just going to get better and better as we get to the beginning of next year, especially. That is really when we're planning on bringing lots of guests on as well. That is already in the works. But as you guys know, it is the end of the year. It's a holiday season, and we didn't pick the exactly the best
Opportune.
date. Yeah, exactly. The most opportune date to start. But you gotta just start. If you don't put the rubber to the road, then it'll never happen. But just know, as we get through the holidays, get into 2021, we will be getting on a lot more guests to provide you guys with even more information.
It's gonna be fun, guys. It's gonna be fun. So stay tuned for that. I know Shad and I have some people in the pipeline. Stick
some
with it.
some winners,
Yeah.
some big winners. Yeah, I'm telling you right
Exactly.
now, just giving you a little sneak peek. We've got some awesome guests on the horizon for you guys. People that are very well known within the community. Some maybe not so well known, but have a wealth of knowledge to provide you guys for sure.
Which is always fun because at the end of the day, guys, we're here to give information about the hobby. And who better to help us out than people with knowledge that
Mhm.
stem back all the way 20 years already from when Pokemon first started here in North America and
Mhm.
across the world. So, guys, it's gonna be fun. But you know what? That's enough diddle daddling in the pleasantries of the intro. We'll kick this right off here. I'll pass the word off to Shad, and we'll see what we have in store for the first topic.
Yeah, and that's right. And that's kind of, when it's just going to be Jules and myself, guys, we're basically just going to go through some topics that we feel are relevant to the current time within the TCG and just give you guys our perspective on what is going on, both from kind of a collecting and an investing perspective. We really want to give you guys that diversified approach and a different way of looking at things. So, one of the big things that is going on right now is there's a lot of bubble talk. A lot of bubble talk. You might as well pull out like your old school 90s super soaker. We're talking about those type of bubbles. People are seeing, cards out there that are starting to decrease in price. And one of the cards that has really triggered this and triggered this conversation and this sort of fanaticism about this potential bubble bursting is that base set PSA 9 Charizard. Now, as you guys know, here just a few months ago, that card was creeping up, close to around $5,000. Now, just right before this podcast, I actually jumped onto eBay and found that the card is going, in some cases, in some of the most recently sold listings, under 2,000. So it has dropped by half in
Substantial.
just a substantial in just a few months. And so this is scaring a lot of people. And I think that, their fear in some ways is understandable. And, coming from a finance background and having studied markets for, quite some time now, you don't just see it in Pokemon. You see it all over in all markets, whether that's stocks, whether that's real estate. As soon as people start to see a dip, their first inclination is to sell. So, what we want to get into first and foremost is kind of our perspective on why you're seeing this. And I think also to kind of give you some perspective that it's not as bad as many people are making it out to be. So starting out with this PSA 9 Charizard, one of the big things that I want to start off in saying is that you want to look and differentiate between two different concepts here. And that is popularity and rarity. Okay. Now, just the other day, one of the big members, guy that has been in the hobby for a long, long time, SM Pratt, he was talking about this very topic, the difference between popularity and rarity. And, when you're looking at, we'll just take, from a statistical perspective, if you're looking on the PSA website and you're looking at the PSA pop report for a PSA 9 base set unlimited Charizard. Now, you would think, because this card is so popular, that the pop report for that would be low, but that's not the case here. Now, you guys can take a look, on the pop report. I recommend that you do this, often. But that PSA 9 Charizard, there is well over 4,000 PSA 9 base set unlimited Charizards. And that's really what we're talking about here, guys. This is a very popular card, arguably the most popular card of all time. And on top of that, base set unlimited was the most printed set through all of WotC. Of all of the WotC sets, it was the most heavily printed. And so a lot of people had this card at their disposal. And when you think about it, statistically, when you pull a pack fresh Charizard, you are much more likely to get that in a PSA 9 condition than you are in a PSA 10. So on the flip side, one of the cards that people have thought, well, we are seeing a bubble now because we look at an XY Evolutions Holo Charizard, PSA 10 in this case, and it's going for more than the PSA 9 base set unlimited Charizard. But when you look at the pop reports for a card like that, and in fact, I'll go ahead and pull it up just to give you guys the current numbers on that. But for that Holo Charizard, for a PSA 10, there is only 162 of those out there. And when you go down the line and you start to look at some of the other Charizards in that set, especially like the Charizard Holo pre-release, the Staff pre-release, it's even less. So this is really what we want to drive home to you guys here tonight is the difference between popularity and rarity. So even though this base set unlimited Charizard is much older than the XY Evolutions reprint, essentially, it is much, much more difficult to get that PSA 10 Charizard. And so the population of these cards out on the open market is a lot less. So really what you're looking at here is, economics 101, supply and demand. Okay, guys. So, and again, you're looking at popularity versus rarity. So there's a lot of other cards out there that aren't nearly as popular as this a PSA 9 base set unlimited Charizard. And it doesn't even have to be PSA 9. It could be in any condition. Very popular card. But that does not mean that it is inherently rare and difficult to come by on the open market. And I believe that is one reason why you're seeing this price start to drop. These cards are essentially flooding into the market. And so now you have sellers that are undercutting each other because they have to. The supply is getting to a point now where they have to undercut each other. And then, we're going to get into some other factors that have led to this as well. But I think this is a good starting point for our discussion here, is just that difference between popularity and rarity. Jules, what do you think, my man?
Pretty much same thing. Like you said, the fourth, like, look at those numbers, guys. Numbers don't lie at the end of the day, unless they're like rigged. But that's another topic. But I'm pretty sure PSA is not rigging those numbers. Like you were saying, pack fresh does not mean 10.
Exactly.
Does not mean 9 sometimes also. But
Mm-hmm.
most likely usually ends up being a 9, right? So at that
Mm-hmm.
point, it's only normal, from what I can understand. It's only normal that you can pull a 9 versus a 10, and that's why those 10s, ultimate perfection, guys. That's why it's so hard to achieve. And because it's that hard to achieve, that's why it becomes more rare. And that's why the value still remains at all times. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I just digress to quickly comics. Everybody wants a 9.8 on 10. That's the ideal grade. But you can get a 9.9 and a 10.0. So that 10.0, guys, is just almost impossible. It will always be more rare. It's the same thing with Pokemon cards, guys. At the end of the day, even though Charizard is a beast of a card, everybody loves Charizard. Maybe not everybody. I like Venusaur better than Charizard, but that's a different story. At the end of the day,
Blasphemy.
yeah. Oh
Blasphemy.
my god. But at the end of the day, because he's such a popular card, that's why everybody is always wanting that card, but does not necessarily mean that is the rarest of cards. And then to SM Pratt as well, he always likes those out of the ordinary type cards, right? Those diamonds in the rough. And he called that
Mm-hmm.
illustrator, those illustrators that he had, super beautiful card, guys. And that's why it's also gonna always be worth more money than a Charizard, right? Okay,
Right.
maybe not the first edition, shadowless, whatever the case is, but that illustrator card will always be worth more money than a base set Charizard 9 or 10. I can put my hand on fire. Why? Because there's less. And the more
Mm-hmm.
rare, the more value it holds. So we pretty much said the same thing, Shad and I. We see eye to eye on that, no matter whether it's from a collector standpoint or from an investor standpoint. I think we agree on that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much a good point.
Well, and the other thing that I want to talk about here, guys, is that this is also this is a market thing. Markets do this. Markets go through ebbs and flows. Again, doesn't matter if you're talking about Pokemon or real estate or stocks, markets go through ebbs and flow cycles. Now you can look at this and you can say to yourself, oh my gosh, I just need to sell. If you are in that position where you have this Charizard, or maybe you just feel like you need to sell, or you ride out, or maybe you do sell. Maybe in this case, you do sell. Maybe you decide you want to sell that PSA 9 Charizard. And let's say you're selling it around that $2,000 price point that it's going for right now. That, in my opinion, from an investor standpoint, is a good opportunity to then reinvest back into, as you said, some of these cards that are overlooked,
Yeah.
perhaps even undervalued. These cards that do have low pops that people aren't looking at, that are undervalued right now, and then capitalize on the surge or the increase in price on those undervalued cards. Because I'll be honest with you guys, these Charizards, they'll always be there. They will always be there. There will always be more coming to the market. So that's one thing that I like to drive home, is that when we're in a down market, that is a great time to buy a product, because you're going to buy it at a lower price point. It's talking about the financial markets. It's the same thing. We have a concept in finance, and it's an investing strategy. We call it dollar cost averaging. And that basically means that no matter what the market is doing, you're investing the same amount on the same periodic basis. Because if the market's doing really well, guess what? You're doing well too, just like everybody else. But when the market is down, when most people are exiting and leaving the market and selling out their shares, you are purchasing more shares at that same amount that you're investing at a lower price point. So when the market does come back, which it inevitably will, that is where you can capitalize on those. That's why they call them capital gains. You capitalize on that increase in price. And so that's something that I would highly recommend that people look at right now, is perhaps if you do have a PSA 9 Charizard and you
have to,
maybe you got it.
only if you have to.
Yeah.
I want to bring that,
Yeah,
like, if you don't have to,
for sure.
like, keep it.
Exactly. Exactly. If you don't have to, then just write it out. Write it out, because things will turn around. Now, do I think that it's going to go back up to that $5,000 price point? I don't know. It's really hard to say, because if more come to the market, the supply gets up even further, it may be tough. But at the same time, we also have to take demand into perspective as well. We have a avalanche of new people coming into the hobby. Guess what? If they're around our age, they were in that Gen 1 era, those are the cards they're going to be looking for. They're going to want that Charizard, because that was still, even back then, was the epitome of the hobby. So if we have more demand, perhaps that $4,000, or excuse me, that 4,000 pop on that PSA 9, maybe that's insignificant, because you've got maybe 500,000 people that want that Charizard. And maybe the PSA 10 is just out of reach for the vast majority of them. And so they're still going to want that PSA 9. So you may still see that price come back up. But at this point, I think that's why you're starting to see that dip. And as Jules said, if you don't have to sell, write it out, or sell and start looking at cards that do have a low pop report.
Banned cards.
And what's that?
Banned cards.
Banned cards.
Like we said in the first episode.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you guys listen to that first episode, that was a hot topic. But yeah, just things like that, guys, that most people are overlooking. And that, to me, again, whether you're a collector, whether you're an investor, you could correct me if I'm wrong, Jules, but from a collector standpoint, let's say that you got this PSA 9 Charizard. Charizard's not your favorite Pokemon. You just came by it. Maybe you had it in your binder. You got it graded, came back PSA 9. And you said, okay, you know what? Charizard's not my favorite Pokemon. I really don't care about having him in my collection. I'd rather have maybe something else. Maybe now is an opportunity to maybe sell off that Charizard, maybe invest in something else, or maybe add more variety to your collection.
Mm-hmm.
And it really goes the same thing from an investing standpoint. There may be products out there for that. I mean, I can think, just right off the top of my head, a lot of things that can go for that are well under $2,000 that are great products that have great profit margins. So you can look at it from one of two ways. I think that there's a lot of people that look at it pessimistically, and there's people that just want to drone on about a bubble, because I think a lot of people are just very pessimistic. and they just want to see things fail in some weird way. And then others they want a bubble because they want prices to go back to the way they were 2010,
Yeah.
even 2015. Um, and I can just tell you guys, that's not going to be the case. We're not going to see those prices anymore. So whether you're a collector, whether you're an investor, you just have to adjust. You have to adjust your strategy on how you go about collecting or investing.
Mm-hmm. That's like Squirtle's attack, no, on the base set was bubble gun or something along
Yeah.
those lines, right? Just
Yeah.
like
Bubble beam.
bubble beam. Yeah. And it's man, the modern collector in me is like, oh, here we go. I kept saying it in my actual videos on my YouTube channel too. It's like everybody just joins the hype train and takes off, and
Hmm.
and we knew this was gonna happen, right? Like you said, you kept saying in your
Exactly.
videos as well. Up and down, up and down. We were at an up and we're hitting a down, and now we're gonna see who's gonna jump ship. But
Hmm.
again, guys, reiterating, only if you have to sell it. Because me as a collector, to Shad's question that he had for me before, if I had that Charizard PSA 9, and like I said, not my favorite, I would rather have a Venusaur. But if I had that Charizard PSA 9, just because I do not like selling, I would probably end up just keeping it, because at the end of the day, it's still an extra card in your collection. And no matter what
Hmm.
happens to it, if you hold it over time, it will go up. It cannot go
Well,
lower, it will go up.
and one thing that I want to do here just for kicks is I want to see what a base set Venusaur Unlimited PSA 10 is going for right now.
Probably
Let me
like
see here.
1,500 or 1,600 bucks or something.
Mhm. Let's see. So there is a PSA 8, 1125. Let's see. I'm looking at the recently sold listings here. Let's see. There is not much.
No love for Venusaur. That's why. That's why.
Let me just take it off of sold listings and let's just see what is available, if anything.
Asking price.
Well, Venusaur is getting more love than you thought, Jules,
Oh,
because I am not coming across any PSA 10 base set Venusaurs, which is really surprising, honestly.
mm-hmm. I was
That's
very
actually
surprised.
really surprising
But
because I thought I would at least. I mean, he's part of the big three. Um,
because he's the least popular, he becomes the most rare. Is that is that what we're
maybe,
saying?
maybe. But the point that I'm sorry, guys, I can't. Let me actually just do a Google search and see. I'm on eBay right now. Let me see if I can come across a base set Venusaur. But the point that I'm trying to drive home here is that in Jules' case, his favorite Pokemon is yeah, the big three at least. He prefers Venusaur
Hmm.
over Charizard. Well, that $2,000 that a Charizard PSA 9 is going for, perhaps if you sold that, that might be maybe enough or more than enough to actually get you a PSA 10 Venusaur.
Yeah, that would be
But
fun.
unfortunately, I am not coming across any. So maybe we have just discovered
A
the way
floater.
to go here. Maybe it is the Venusaur that we should all be hunting
There you
right
go.
now.
There you go.
But yeah, like I said, I couldn't come across any. But that's something that you guys want to look at there. Especially I think from a collector's perspective, is if you got cards that you don't really plan on holding in your collection, maybe that Charizard that you've got lingering around that has dropped it by half, maybe now is the time to actually collect something that you truly want. And with Venusaur being the lower tier of the three starters, then you may be able to scoop up a PSA 10 Venusaur for the price that that PSA 9 Charizard
Yeah.
is going.
Like Wayne Gretzky, the great, once said, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So guys,
That's right.
maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time. Like Shad was saying, he said PSA 8 for 1100, you said?
1125. Yep.
1125. So it's you can have two PSA 8s for the 9 of the Charizard if of course Venusaur is a more favorite Pokemon of yours, but it just goes to show that you can actually gain more value out of selling him possibly at this time and investing in
Mhm.
things that still have that upward climb ahead of them,
Exactly.
right? Because
Exactly.
correct me if I'm wrong, but Charizard's just been he's one of the ones that have
Yeah.
just been going up and down from the beginning just because of
Well,
popularity.
exactly. And this kind of leads me to a good, yeah, kind of a subtopic here is that, I've made the comparison before that graded cards are very analogous and function pretty similar to like stocks. They fluctuate a lot, much in the same manner that stocks do. And people are always surprised when graded cards take a hit, but they're perfectly okay when they're just the prices are soaring. Exactly, and that's how people are with stocks as well. Now, granted, much like different types of stocks, you've got blue chip stocks, you've got value stocks, you've got opposite ends of the spectrum on the risk in
Mhm.
those investments. Same thing with graded cards. There's cards that will consistently hold a strong value, and there's cards that are just going to fluctuate dramatically, sometimes on a day-to-day basis. But the what it brings me to here is that although we have been seeing fluctuations and some dips with graded cards, the area of the market, at least with Pokemon, that you haven't really seen a whole lot of change and that actually is still increasing is sealed products. Now, obviously, again, there is a spectrum there. You go back to Wizards of the Coast, you go back to those early sets, those sealed products are going to always hold a strong value because the
Yep.
supply of those is just going to keep going down and down and down. They're not going to be those are not getting printed anymore. Now, the closer to present day that you get with your sets, those are because at least with modern, ultra modern, they do run the risk of being reprinted, and we've seen that. We just got confirmation. I think we talked about it last week with Cosmic Eclipse being it's slated for early next year. Another print run of the Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes. So again, you have a spectrum there. But when you're looking at, if you're taking your Charizards and you're going all the way back to WotC, those sealed products have continued their upward mobility. So when you're talking about bubbles, you have to paint with a broad brush when you're talking about this because there's a lot of people, and I think a lot of it is influenced by people that are just wanting to get maybe clickbait. They're just wanting to get maybe some notoriety around some topic. And when people see, okay, base set 9 Charizard has dropped by half. Oh, that's it. Mark, bubbles
The
pop.
frenzy.
Mark, yep, it's over. It's over. But when you look at things, and that's again, guys, one of the things that we try to do here is we try to look at the broad perspective on everything. That's why we've got myself and Jules, because we want to give you two different perspectives on these topics. And that's also why we want to bring on guests. So they also give you another perspective because when you've got that, you've got a more holistic way of looking at this hobby. So that's really the thing that I want to leave you guys with on this particular topic of this bubble is that when you hear talk, the bubble talk, look at everything from a broader perspective
Yeah.
because even with graded cards, we haven't seen a drop with all graded cards. It's just the same thing with the stock market. If the economy itself is not doing well, it doesn't mean that all stocks are affected in equal measure.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. If PSA 9 base set Charizard is falling, that does not mean that all other cards are falling as well. And in fact, you can look on the flip side and look at sealed products and still see that there is a very, very strong market, stronger than probably it's ever been in sealed products. And that's the great thing about this hobby, and why I have a tendency to compare it to the financial markets is because there's a lot of analogous movement between the different types of Pokemon card products and the different types of investment products. And that's really the perspective that I try to bring in here.
Just just to add to your point, pretty much, and to the reason, I would assume and I understand according to what's out there, the sealed products have the value because in order for you to get the PSA cards, you have to open the sealed products. And as you open the sealed products, guys, the supply of sealed goes down, meaning that the supply of opened or PSA possible graded cards goes up. So at the end of the day, if you are reducing your supply on the sealed products and there's still the same amount of people that want that sealed product will always hold a higher value than most of the graded cards because as the supply of the sealed goes down, the PSAs go up. But something to think about, something to take with a grain of salt as well. But that's fascinating information, popularity versus rarity, and how it just all intertwines in terms of collecting and investing. It's fun. I find it very
Definitely.
very interesting.
Definitely. Yeah. And two concepts that, I think, as I said, guys, um, something you have to take into consideration here, you know, paint with that broad stroke brush when you're looking at these type of things. So yeah, great topic. Great topic. And I think it's very, very relevant for what's going on right now because there's a lot of talk around it, a lot of people who are scared. And hopefully, after you guys hear this, you're a little bit more comfortable
Hmm.
with what's going on right now.
I would say stick with it. Just write it out. Let's get into next year, and don't worry about it, guys. I think Shad is with me on this one in terms of everything's gonna be okay. Don't everybody start jumping off the train just yet. We'll be okay. Don't worry about it.
Exactly, exactly. And speaking of next year, that really brings us to our next topic here, and this is pretty exciting.
Hmm.
This is pretty exciting. So, if you guys have not seen, now you guys know, if you guys follow me on my channel, you guys know that I'm a big fan of PokeBeach.
Hmm.
PokeBeach is a great, great resource for all the drops on new releases, basically anything that drops within the world of Pokemon and the Pokemon TCG. It's almost always found first on
These
PokeBeach.
guys are these like what kind of team does these guys have? These guys are like
Uh,
brainiacs here. Just
Yeah, yeah. It really is incredible. The information, the way that they break this information so quickly and from, very from sources that I don't know how they get these sources.
they got
It's
connections.
they've got the connections. They're far and wide. They've got friends in high places for sure. But the reason I bring up next year is that it just dropped. Well, by the time this podcast goes live, it will have been about a week old. But we have a trademark that has been filed for the Pokemon TCG. Now, this is really big information because trademarks are usually discovered 5 to 6 months in advance of them being released. So if it's being revealed now, then typically we will see that release around April or May of next year. And the trademark that they have filed is for a new V-Star trademark. V-Star.
Hmm.
Now we have confirmation already that the next Japanese sets are Single Strike Master and Rapid Strike Master. Those will release in Japan on January 22nd. And then we also have a March set that was also recently revealed, which is Matchless Fighter. And that Matchless Fighter, that'll be a subset. It is 5A in the Japanese series. But this will come after that. As I said, this is probably slated for around April or May based upon that trademark timeframe and when they're actually discovered. So V-Star. Now, this could mean a couple different things. This could be a potential set for Pokemon, a brand new set, or it could be a TCG mechanic. And when I say TCG mechanic, I'm talking about, the type of cards that you're seeing. So if you go back through the confines of Poke Beach's history, we got announcements like this for X, Y, and Z. We got announcements like this for different sets like the Tag Team All Stars. So what we want to really talk about in this discussion is kind of speculate on what we think this V-Star represents. So is this potentially, we had EX cards, we had GX cards, we've got V cards. And for some reason, it's always awkward for me to say that out loud. I don't know why. And now we have V-Star. So before I jump into what I'm thinking about this, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jules and see what he thinks about this new trademark.
V-Star. Wow. I think I know what you're thinking already, but trademark filed for V-Star. Guys, can you imagine? Okay, I'm going to go with it's going to be a set. Okay, it's going to be a brand new set. It'll end up being called something V-Star. But in this set, it's going to be only major cards. Commons and uncommons will be cut. The ratios, I guess, will be cut at least by half. You will almost have God packs in every pack. Because if I'm not mistaken, Japan has already released those God packs in what was it called? That massive ultra team, not ultra team, the tag team one that had like
Ultra shiny.
yeah, something along those lines. It was a gold box with I can't remember exactly what the name was. I should have checked what it was. Ultra team. I feel like team is in there somewhere.
Let me see.
I think they
Let's
go for
take
like
a look on
$75, $80. They're known to have those God packs in them that have just unbelievable pulls.
I think, let's see here. I believe it was for
It's a GX on it. It says it's a
I think it was Tag All Stars.
Tag
GX
All
Tag
Stars.
All Stars.
Okay, that's the one I'm talking about. North America, according to what I've seen recently, has never received some sort of set where you can hit a God pack like that. From what I know, and now, according to what we have as well with the new Shiny Star V's and all those cards, I've seen a couple of videos out there already where the packs are just loaded to the teeth with crazy pulls in them. So you know what? V-Star, I think, will be a set. The commons and uncommons will be cut by half in the ratios of what cards to pull in a pack. And possibly we will be able to finally get God packs in the booster box in any which way form that they're going to release this in a pack. We're finally going to be able to get 5 or 6 V cards in one pack of 10 or 11 cards. That's what I'm thinking maybe this is going to be.
Well, that is really interesting, and I had not thought of that myself. But I'm thinking that if they were to release this, these God packs out to the rest of the world outside of Japan, next year would be the year to do it.
100%.
The 25th anniversary, that would be the year to do it. I mean, you want to create hype, you want to create fanaticism, frenzy. Yeah, that would be a set to do it in. That would definitely be it. Now, for me, from my perspective, the way that I was looking at it, I'm kind of hearkening back to older sets. And when I see V-Star, I'm thinking that it's more mechanic. So like I said, we've got EX, we've got GX, we've got V. So I'm thinking that they start to bring back the gold star
Wow.
EX era. So you're not only going to have your card in, V, but it's going to be a V gold star. Now, I think that, those gold star cards to this day are some of the most highly
Mm-hmm.
sought after cards from any series. Any series. I mean, you've got the, Vaporeon, you've got a gold star cards. You could get those in a PSA 7, and those cards still in a near mint status skyrocket, just skyrocket. And they're just continuing to go up. So I think, again, if Pokemon wanted to create hype, they wanted to harken back to some of their old school players, collectors, um, adding that to the card, because one of the things that a lot of people have thought is that maybe eventually they'll bring back the first edition stamp. Now that is a conversation in and of itself.
Oh, yes,
It
it
is,
is.
I don't want to get into some murky waters here on that, but that's again, I think the first edition stamp that is again harkening back to an older time, to people who grew up with that. But bringing back that gold star in the card, you had level X cards, you had all these different types of cards from back in the day, but that gold star, having something on there that is really difficult to come by.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to get amazing rares. We're starting to get different types. So we've got the, obviously rainbow rares, Gigantamax cards, all these different things. I think that V-Star, if I was Pokemon, and again, if I was trying to create hype, even more hype for the 25th anniversary, adding something like that to the card to where you've got new people in the hobby, maybe people who are younger, maybe just starting out, they will see that and be like, wow, that's really cool. This is a gold V card. Really cool. But then you've got all the old school people, all the old guys like you and me, they go, wow, they are bringing it back. It's not that first edition stamp, you know, but it's that gold star harking back to that EX era. I think that would be amazing.
It would.
Now, the other speculation that I have is that this V Star is perhaps maybe an evolution of certain Pokemon. So we've got, Pokemon has kind of transitioned now where we're starting to get different forms of Pokemon. Back in the day, it was just the evolved forms. And then we got Mega Evolution. And then we got, Alolan type Pokemon. And then we got Galarian type Pokemon. And then obviously Pokemon has really increased the amount of notoriety around shiny Pokemon. So perhaps this V Star is maybe another form
Mm-hmm.
of particular Pokemon. So maybe this is a particular form or evolution. Maybe it's just strictly for legendary Pokemon, mythical Pokemon,
So,
Pokemon
so
like that.
are you saying then it's like Pikachu VMAX Super Saiyan mode with V-Star? Is
Super Saiyan 3
there you go.
fusion.
Just throw everything at it. Let's get Pikachu
Exactly.
bigger. Let's just make
Shiny
him
Gigantamax Pikachu Super Saiyan 3 fuse.
beautiful.
Got it all in one package. But yeah, I could definitely see that. This V Star as maybe like a different form. Or maybe who knows that once maybe a Pokemon is in its Gigantamax form, maybe it is at that point that it can take on this V Star form. It's only in its Gigantamax state.
Hmm.
Could be another thing. Could be
That's
another thing.
that's really interesting. I like that perspective on it, and like you said, the people that have been there from the beginning and see that if that thing comes out with a gold
Hmm.
star or whatever, that oh my god, guys, open your wallets and
Yeah,
run.
just dump them out.
Just
Just dump them out.
just do it. Just do it. Just let it go, because let me tell you, that Rayquaza was a gold star, right?
Yep.
Oh, what a card. What
Yeah.
a card. But
Yeah.
like we said last week too, if they don't give us Neo Destiny, Gold Star I think is pretty up there in terms of
Hmm.
something crazy that they can bring back for the old school.
Well, and
Go ahead.
yeah, and not only that, but this thought just crossed my mind in that, Neo, let's say that they decide to reprint Neo. I think, in my opinion, I think there's still a little bit of animosity between Wizards of the Coast and Pokemon. Whatever happened in that falling out, I think there's a little bit of animosity. Now, if we bring back Gold Star cards, that has nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast prints.
True.
That is strictly Pokemon Company International. So they may, say to themselves, let's just bring something back from an older time, but it was something that we solely produced.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if that's more than speculating. That's like the I don't know why the word is escaping me, but the conspiracy
The
theorist.
conspiracy.
That's the conspiracy theorist in me coming out with that. But that could be a reason why. If they did decide to go with Gold Star cards, and we didn't go with like a Neo reprint, could be lending to that thought process.
Mhm. I like that perspective on it. And at the end of the day, as we know, whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna sell out.
Exactly.
We love
Exactly.
Pokemon, and whatever they're gonna make us, we're gonna gobble it up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it'll just be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Because we got again, going back to these trademarks, we got uh, inclinations of these sets. Long before, and then we had the like you were talking about, the GX Tag Team All Stars. And they have a tendency to bundle these sets, and then they create the set that is released to the rest of the world. So perhaps V-Star, who knows,
yeah.
this could be, it could be maybe a combination of everything that we've been talking about here today, that maybe this is a set that is going to be combined with other sets to create, because if you think about it, this is released, April, May timeframe. We have some subsequent sets that maybe they release after that. This maybe is the set that starts this V-Star, whatever it's going to be, and then maybe they combine subsequent sets to then give us, one final perhaps holiday set, that's released September, October timeframe. So that could be something that we see as well.
Like the Lord of
And
the
then
Rings,
May,
right? The one ring to rule them all. This would be the one set to rule all other sets that have preceded it.
right, right. And I mean, and again, if they're going to do it, next year is the year to do it. And we've been talking about sets like Hidden Fates. We've been talking about the Shiny Star V. I would not be surprised if Pokemon did not release these type of sets, if not every year, then every other year. And that may be, the hidden fates of 2021.
Hmm.
So it's quite possible.
That's really interesting. I, the world is your oyster, no? When
Yeah.
you can when you can think about and dream about what that possibly can be, and at this point, we're at the mercy of time. We're at the mercy of
Yeah.
time, and only time will tell what's gonna happen. But like you said, next year, the opportune moment for Pokemon to become even bigger than what it is right now, just
Mhm.
because of what's happening. And I can't even wait. Like I become
Yeah.
speechless sometimes when I'm speaking about these things to other people, and it's like, guys, hold on to your caps, because a whirlwind of fiasco is gonna occur next year. And I don't want to hype myself up too much because sometimes when you make assumptions, you know what it is, right? Makes a out of you and me. But oh my god, oh, I can't
Yeah.
wait. I'm excited for
Yeah.
that.
No, me too. Me too, man. I think next year is going to be awesome. And, and I'm sure Jules would as well. We'd be interested in hearing what all of you think about this. These sets, this trademark, it always is really exciting, and you never know what's going to come from it. So we would be interested to hear from all of you as well. So if you guys are subscribed to us or you follow us over on our YouTube channel, then go ahead and let us know down in the comments what you think this shiny or this V-Star, what this actually represents and what we can expect from this. Because I would be interested in hearing from everybody on their perspective.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's
That's all
fun.
you can.
I
That's
can't.
all you can
But
say about it is fun.
but that's why, like, internally, you guys cannot see this right now, especially if you're just listening to us on the podcast platforms. But like, I am jittery. I am moving around. I am nervous. I'm counting down the days. I have an advent calendar until next year, guys. We are ready. We are ready.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think everybody knows 2021. It's going to be a big year all around. There's a lot of things, not just with it being the 25th anniversary, but there's you've got the Olympics, and we've talked about this before. Just all of the different events that are slated to happen in 2021, and it's going to be a big year. It's going to be a big year for Pokemon. So this is just going to add to that hype. But this is definitely something that we wanted to bring up here today. Something that you guys can get excited for. We're certainly excited for it. And this is what we generally like to do on the podcast, or what our hopes are for the podcast, is kind of giving you guys a little bit of the more serious aspects. We started out with the whole bubble talk, but Jules and I, no matter what perspective we come from, it's investing, the collecting, like, all in the end, guys, we love Pokemon. We
Mm-hmm.
love the TCG, and we get excited about everything, no matter what it is. It could be the prices, it could be the investing, it could be new sets that are coming out, stuff that we're getting, just adding as part of our collection, or just things that are going on within the Pokemon card world. Like, we absolutely love this hobby. We know you guys do too, and we want to make sure that you get the various perspectives on this hobby and the different areas that we both enjoy. So, Jules, you got anything else to add to that topic, my friend?
Just to close the topic too, to your point, was great. Guys, show us how much you love Pokemon. And if you do love Pokemon, hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe as well. Hit the notification bell, guys, because if you like the interaction we have here, the topics that we discuss coming from both aspects of it, at the end of the day, like Shad said, we love Pokemon. So hit that like button. If you guys are listening to us on the podcast platforms, leave us a review. Whatever the case is, leave us a question, leave us a comment. We will be glad to get to you guys. And we're just here to have fun with you guys and provide you guys with the best entertainment possible at this time. That's pretty much
Exactly.
how I wanted to close that topic off.
Yeah. Well, very well said, man. And yeah, there's no better way to show your support for us than by doing it through those means. It certainly means a ton to us, especially as the podcast is just getting started. It goes a long way, especially out on the podcasting platforms,
Mhm.
leaving a review, preferably maybe a 5-star review, only if we've deserved it.
Yes.
But that definitely helps people to find the podcast. And then same thing with YouTube. You guys know how YouTube is. The more subscribers that we have, the more that the channel can grow and the podcast can grow as well. So yeah, just as Jules said, guys, definitely the best way to show your support. So I think that is going to do it for the topics for this week, guys. Now, this is going to be the first time what we're going to do moving on into the future, whether it's just Jules and I or whether we have a guest on, is we want to answer questions from the community. Now, if you guys haven't heard already, we do have an email address that is pokemon.purveyors@gmail.com. That is where we encourage you guys to go ahead and send us your questions. But as you know, Jules and I both have social medias. You can find us both on Instagram, and you can feel free to go ahead and send us a DM over on Instagram as well if you do have questions for the podcast. So, Jules, you ready to jump into these questions?
Yes, I am, Shad. Let's do it.
All right. So, the first question that we have here, and this was sent to us on our email, this comes from Mike. And he says, I was just curious on your thoughts on cards that are slabbed/graded. Some people in the comic book world only collect graded books, and some only collect raw books. So, Jules, you're very familiar with that. Does this apply in the Pokemon world as well, or is it more of a personal choice type of thing? So, I guess I'll start us off here. It sounds like Mike is probably pretty new to the hobby, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are probably listening to this that are new as well. So when it comes to graded cards, the reason that people get cards graded, really there's multiple reasons. One is to preserve a card. If you've got a card that is in really good condition, much in the same manner as a comic book, you want to preserve that particular collectible, and getting it graded is one of the best ways to do so. Not only that, if you're the type of person, you want to invest maybe long term, this is also the best way to authenticate the condition of a particular product. So this lends credence to that particular product being of certain value. And it's how you can put a particular value on that card based upon the condition that it comes back in. So, for me, I would say, graded cards, in some ways it is subjective. It's not something that you necessarily have to do, especially if you're just trying to get cards in your collection. If you've got a lot of cards, it can be expensive to get those cards graded. Now, what I always recommend, there's actually a fantastic service if you guys are listening to us in North America, in Canada, or in the US. There is a service called Graded Gem, and they are basically like a third party that gets your cards graded through PSA. Now, you can go through PSA directly, but typically, in order to get prices that are comparable to Graded Gem, you're going to have to sign up for a membership. And I believe that membership is $149 a year, if I'm not mistaken. So they're right up front. To get that membership, it is, pretty expensive. And then on top of that, you're looking at your cards being around $8 to $10 per card with that membership. And typically, you're still going to have to send in a minimum of a 50 card submission to get those prices. So, if you're wanting to get a lot of cards graded, right up front, it's going to be pretty expensive. So you have to ask yourself, what is your end goal? Maybe you're just wanting to get a few cards graded that are your favorite that you want to keep in your collection. Great. It shouldn't be that much money. And like I said, I would recommend going through Graded Gem because their products are cheaper. And I found that the turnaround times are much faster than going through PSA directly. With the boom in Pokemon, PSA, all the big grading services, Beckett, even CGC, they're starting to get really, really backed up. So yeah, in synopsis here, I would say, you're familiar with comics, Mike. Really the same thing I think applies to Pokemon here. If you're wanting to preserve a product, if you're wanting to know or have a specific value attached to your Pokemon card based upon its condition, then I would recommend getting it graded. But if that doesn't mean anything to you, then it's not necessary. And especially if you don't have, a lot of money to have cards graded, then it is definitely not necessary, especially if you're just keeping it in your own collection.
Yeah. Just to add to that, so I echo pretty much everything you've said. I have a lot of graded comic books. I do not have a lot of graded Pokemon cards at the moment Because what I've learned from the comic book side to bring over to the Pokemon world is that at the end of the day, I think you touched upon this as well, there is no perfect formula. There is no machine out there that can tell you, beep, 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 program the machine, put the card inside, and says, this is a 7. No. At the end of the day, it is a human on the other end of that card that will tell you they are professionals, right? They will tell you what this card is subjective to them in their opinion, basically, and they're trying to stay as neutral as possible, but what this is supposed to reflect on a scale of 1 to 10. And what I've learned in comics is that it's not always the case. So, what I'm testing actually right now with the Pokemon stuff is learn how to grade myself, make sure I fully understand the grading scale, and with that information, only send in when 100% required a card to be graded when I need to attach, like you said as well, the value or the authenticity of the card
Mhm.
to it. Because I've learned lessons already in the past with CGC, the comic side, another topic, doesn't matter. But I'm being very, very, very picky with what I will send in to get graded, and only if I want that value and authenticity associated to that specific card. So that's
Exactly.
pretty much it.
Yep. Said perfectly. Said perfectly. All right. What other questions do we got, Jules?
Let me take a look here on Instagram. I know I got two questions here. The first is coming from Davide here on Instagram. So basically, he has a question. The question is, what's the best place to buy Pokemon cards from trusted sellers? He says as well, I bought a few from TCG Player to complete my collection, and I'm looking on eBay for a couple of singles. Are there any trusted sellers out there that you guys can recommend? So Shad, you know what? Let's start with you as well on this one.
Hmm. So, I mean, really outside of, the resources that he talked about, TCG Player, that is a good one. You've got eBay, you've got Mercari, you've got sites like that. Outside of that, my two favorite that I go to, and they are great with singles as well, is trollandtoad.com. I would highly recommend checking that one out. And then DA Card World, which stands for Dave and Adams Card World. Those are two highly verified third-party dealers for Pokemon card products. You can find new products on there. They have vintage products. They've got singles. They've got graded cards. Everything. Now, with that, however, because it is a very reliable resource, there is a premium that goes along with that. So that's one thing that I would say just be cognizant of. You can probably find products cheaper, especially eBay, Mercari, but you're not going to have that same kind of security going into it. So just understand that those two resources, they are going to charge a premium because they are more secure than these other sites that you'll be going to. Outside of that, what I would do is maybe, I talk about it all the time, but connect with your local game
Mm-hmm.
shops. I have found time and time again that local game shops, especially some of the small town game shops that I go to back near my hometown in northern Arizona, there are some gems that I find in there, just kind of in a back corner somewhere that they just kind of forgot about. Just some absolute gems. Now, you still run the risk of maybe a card being fake, but that's also where you just take it upon yourself to do your research, expand your knowledge on how you can detect fake products. And when you're talking about single cards, very often you can detect those,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've got something, a side by side comparison that you can use. But yeah, local game shops, I think, are underutilized, in my opinion, because I found time and time again, they've got great products. And, especially going to those rural areas and just the demand isn't the same in the metropolitan areas. And I've been able to find some absolute gems. So yeah, I would say DA Card World, Troll and Toad, and your local game shops. That would be the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I would actually, I don't know why. I feel like sometimes online is, man, especially that I'm here in Canada, right? Gotta pay for the shipping. Then you gotta pay for the possible border duties and taxes that might come along with that if it gets stopped or anything like that. So eBay is easy, Mercari is easy. All these online places that are based out of the US, especially if you're in Canada, are a little bit more difficult, basically. But
Hmm.
my online thing, I don't know why I found myself buying a lot of stuff on Facebook groups, Pokemon Facebook groups, and
Hmm.
as much as you have that uncertainty about who you're buying it from because you don't know this person, right? At the end of the day, he's just part of a group, but this group technically is built so that they can try and filter out those scammers or people that are less trustworthy of some kind, and they have like Excel sheets of +1 for the buyer, +1 for the seller, and
Hmm.
if you do a really shady interaction, you're gone from the group. So they have these kind of stringent rules that they apply to
Hmm.
these groups on Facebook. I found myself recently spending quite a bit of time on there and acquiring a few cards through Facebook groups of Pokemon cards specifically, and then to
Hmm.
echo as well the local game shops here in Montreal. We got a lot of game shops, and if you don't want to leave your house because of the pandemic or anything like that or whatever's happening around in the world, you can always check their websites, guys, and at the end of the day you can get it shipped to you. So if you want that shipping, most of these local game shops and card stores and all that stuff, they have online presence, most of them, and they can get you what you need. And it's always fun to like you. Just I'm more of a hands-on guy. I want to interact with the person live. And when I walk into my local comic shop all the time, I look in that case, see what he's got. He's got nothing. Okay, fine. But if that one day
Hmm.
that you find that there's something there and he's brought a new product, it's exhilarating. But
Oh, for sure.
those are the two things that I would suggest as well, other than TCG Player and the online presence stuff. Your local comic shop, game shop, or Facebook groups for Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Facebook, those Facebook groups have really been growing in popularity,
Hmm.
and I think, like you said, they're pretty strict and pretty stringent, and they're doing it. From what I've seen, they're doing a pretty good job of monitoring that and making sure that everything is legitimate.
Yeah,
So that's really good to see. Really good to see.
yeah.
But yeah, really good question. Really good question. I've got one more here on my end. This comes from Real Yared. This was on Instagram. And he says many modern sets have a Charizard as a chase card. Which modern set would be best to invest in? So I'll go ahead and kick this one off. I think for anybody that has listened to me or followed me for any period of time, as far as modern sets go, I was saying it from the very beginning back in May when I first got onto YouTube. I was saying that XY Evolutions was poised for growth. And that is what we're seeing right now. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into that with the surge of prices in all of the different base sets, first edition, shadowless, unlimited, Japanese. It's pricing people out. More and more people coming into the market, more and more people wanting that nostalgia, wanting that base set. Evolutions was that next best step for them, and that's why we're seeing the prices go up. And talking again, harking back to our initial topic of this podcast of the market going down, sealed products staying the same. XY Evolutions continues to climb. It continues to climb, and a lot of people said, "Oh, this is just again, it's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's going to drop. This isn't. This is a market manipulation." But it's continuing to go up. And what a lot of people don't know, and I think for a lot of people that aren't deeply kind of embedded into the hobby and understand a lot of the distribution channels, I know you've talked to your game shops, Jules. I've talked to mine. These are highly, highly allocated. And I'm talking about booster boxes here, folks, talking about XY Evolutions booster boxes. These are very tightly allocated now, which tells me that there is very slim chance that this set will be reprinted again. Now, people have asked, well, what about the Kanto Power Collections? This to me is leftover stock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Pokemon is producing these products, they, they're putting booster boxes together and they're putting other products together as well. I think that the Kanto Power Collections boxes were packs that they had intended to be included in maybe newer sets, other pin collection boxes. And they said, you know what? It's time to clear the slate. It's time to basically empty our inventory of evolutions. So we're going to pump out these Kanto Power Collections boxes and do just that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that wasn't the case, you would think that they would continue to be producing booster boxes. If they had that much inventory, they would be continuing to pump out booster boxes. And that's just not the case. You know, you can look through the various distribution channels. So yeah, hey, you guys have heard me drone on about evolutions. I think that's great. If we're talking about top three modern sets, I would definitely include evolutions in there. I would also Hidden Fates has to be in there. It has to be in there. At this point, even with the reprints of these bad boys back here, prices have still stayed the same. They've just continued to stay consistent, even with the tins. Elite trainer boxes, those have remained the same or have even gone up. We do have, or at least we have the inklings that there's going to be a reprint next year. We don't know how.
Yeah.
In January. We don't know how much that's going to be, how allocated that's going to be. Do I think it's going to really affect it in the long term? Not at all. Not at all. Short term, maybe slightly. In the long term, no. So I think Hidden Fates is definitely in there. And then outside of that, I would probably say, just kind of going over the last maybe like 5 years. Generations is another one. I really like Generations. I like sets that commemorate certain events. We're talking about the 25th anniversary next year, how big that's going to be. Generations was what commemorated and celebrated the 20th anniversary. So I think Generations, if you're looking at like that tie for third, I would say it's probably Generations. And, if I'm just using that 5-year time frame, Ancient Origins is actually another one from XY that has seen really good growth as well. You've got two pretty big chase cards in that set. You've got that Primal Kyogre, Primal Groudon, that are full arts in that set. And Ancient Origins has seen quite a bit of growth as well. But, it is kind of starting to get to that point now where maybe it's getting beyond the price point of the average person. So I would say if I had an honorable mention outside of that, I would probably throw Burning Shadows into that spot as well. So I think any of those sets at this point, obviously Evolutions, again, it's getting up to that $500 price point. So maybe it's out of reach for some. But yeah, those would probably be like my, top 5 that I would be looking at investing in at this point.
Yeah. If I had to go for where the Charizards were, as much as I want to say Champion's Path, just because I love that shiny Charizard V, that black version of him. I just love that card. Unfortunately, I still haven't pulled it after 50, 60 packs,
Yeah,
which is nothing, but still.
Yeah.
People were pulling it after one pack they opened. But anyways, as much as I want to say that, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first set to come out as the hype was taken off, right? Or was it Darkness Ablaze? It was the end of Darkness Ablaze, beginning Champion's Path.
Yeah. I mean, really, so it seems like this whole year has just been a big hype train.
Yeah.
For the most part. But yeah, probably really started to build around that point.
Because there was so many people entering the market, I feel as though there's going to be a lot of Champion's Path left over as we go into next year. So I feel that that Charizard maybe, according to my Facebook and Instagram, it didn't seem like it was that hard to pull, anyways. So in
Hmm.
terms of rarity, maybe the popularity was there, but the rarity might not have been there. As much as I want to
Hmm.
say that that Charizard is going to have value going into the future, I don't think 100% that it will. So if I had to go again, XY Evolutions, hands down, number one on the list. Number two, Burning Shadows. First, Rainbow Rare Charizard that is holding significant value in a 10. I
Yeah.
think we're like $2,500 or $3,000
Hmm.
US at the moment. And thirdly, I want to say XY Flash Fire, but wasn't there like 8 Charizards in that set? I think there
Well,
was.
that yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're including flash fire in there, then yeah. I mean, the problem with flash fire is that I think we might have talked about flash fire last time, but um, it has really gotten to the point where it
Yeah,
is beyond the scope of many people at this point. I mean, Flashfire, just in this year, has experienced something I calculated from the beginning of the year until now. And I haven't checked the prices recently, so it probably is even more. But it was like a 570% growth rate over this year. Like just
crazy.
astronomical, more even than uh, first edition base set booster boxes, even more than that, even more of a growth rate. So that just kind of puts it into perspective for you. But yeah, Flashfire, that's a great set.
I
There's a
wish I could have just.
ton of Charizards.
I wish I could have collected that. I just
Oh,
never
I
had the
know.
chance. Oh,
I
oh my
know.
god.
It was a little bit. It was because I think it was 2014.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
think
say
so.
I think
I
Flashfire
think
was
so.
2014. So it was before I had really jumped back into everything. But man, I wish I would have just done it then. Even in 2016, prices were still really
Super
good,
low,
but
right?
it was
Yeah.
just so modern, and at that time, people really weren't thinking about investing
Yeah.
in modern product. But oh yeah,
And the
definitely.
set,
If you
I'm looking at Pokelector right now, where I keep all my track of my cards. May 7th, 2014. There was
Mhm.
106 cards and 3 secret rares. What I would do to have a
Wow.
set right now of 100 cards,
Yeah.
like,
I feel like that is like perfect. I feel like that's like the perfect size for a set
yeah.
list is, that's how a lot of the early Wizards of the Coast were, a little over 100 cards in the set. I just love that.
Hmm.
Now, Shiny Star V, 300 and what, 30 cards,
That's
I think
absurd.
altogether. It's
That's
just
absurd.
crazy.
Doesn't make sense. I mean,
But yeah, no,
well, who was that question from, Shad, again?
that was the real Yared
Real
over on
Yared.
Instagram.
Hopefully, we answered your question, and you can let us know down in the comments as well, or send us a message, PM. Just
For sure.
hopefully,
For sure.
we got you on the right path here.
All right, Jules, let's have you hit us with that last
Last question.
question.
All right, all right. Let's go into this last question. This is one from someone on Instagram as well. He reached out to me. I think it's Poke Explorer. Okay, he spells it P0KEXPLRER. All right, Poke Explorer. This one's for you. How does it feel to be a collector in Canada? I'm taking this one as specifically
I'll go
to
ahead and,
me.
and turn this one over to you, Jules.
Yeah. So he's according to the message he sent me, he's a fellow Canadian collector as well. And Poke Explorer, let me tell you and put it this way: our friends and neighbors, gracious neighbors to the south, the U.S. At the end of the day, they are a powerhouse, and with all things collectible, the U.S. seems to always have that inkling and um, first dibs on a lot of stuff, right? So Pokemon came in 1999 to North America, and yet I feel even when I was a kid, maybe I wasn't thinking about it. I just wanted to have a Pokemon pack. I was asking my parents all the time to buy it for me, anyways. But I feel like they always had the upper hand, right? And Canada, we're always second. So when it comes to those things, just look at the Pokemon Center, right? Pokemon Center in the US first, and we finally got a Pokemon Center to ship here now in Canada. So as a Canadian
Mhm.
collector, I feel like we're always on the back burner, but I've seen some crazy stories of cards coming out of Canada. And if you guys saw it, and if you haven't checked it out on Leonhardt's channel, a couple of videos back, maybe 2 weeks from when this podcast comes out, he had someone from France on there who said a story about where the illustrator card came from and so on and so forth. That card
Mhm.
originated in Japan, but was first bought by a Canadian back in the day. So,
Mhm.
as much as we might feel like we're a little bit uh, just behind the US usually in getting new things and so on and so forth, I still think that Canada, being in Canada as a collector, is still a wonderful place to be collecting. We still have so many opportunities on things, whether it be in any form of collecting. Commemorative coins. I know that the Royal Canadian Mint is huge here in Canada, right? As well for the silver. I know the US has their own, but I feel like the Royal Canadian Mint, in terms of quality of product and so on, just out of the park, just blows it out of the park. So when it
Mhm.
comes to Pokemon specifically, we have a very, very good shot at succeeding here with Pokemon. You might always have an edge if you're in the US, and that border sometimes, the duties, it might just throw you off an extra $20. But you know what, on a card that you might pay 12, if you pay $20 in duties after, it irks you. But other than that, we can be always friends. There's no animosity between anything like that. And at the end of the day, does it really matter where you live? Because if you collect what you love and you collect what you want and like, we are all one big happy family. So at the end of the day,
Mhm.
being Canadian, American, French, Italian, Spanish, all the nationalities out there, if you love what you're collecting, guys, there's no boundaries and there's no borders that exist as a collector. That's pretty much what I have to say about being a Canadian collector, of all things collectible.
We all live in one Pokemon
There
world.
you go. There you go. Beautiful, beautiful way to end it.
Excellent, excellent. No, I think that's fantastic, man. It's true. No matter where you're from, no matter where you're collecting from, um, there's always opportunities.
Mhm.
It's just have to look at it. That's a great thing about Pokemon being an international brand, a worldwide brand, is that you can enjoy the hobby from wherever you're at in the world. It's awesome.
Yep,
All right, Jules. Well, we did it, my friend.
we
We did
did it.
it.
Number
Episode
2.
number in the books. So, again, guys, thank you so much. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for being on here. Again, as Jules said, one of the best ways that you can support the channel on YouTube is to subscribe, hit that like button on this particular podcast. And then also, if you want, go ahead and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a single podcast. And I know I'm like,
I
I'm going
saw it.
right in. I'm going right into my channels, my own model for my own channel. But it is, I've done it so many times that it's like deeply ingrained in me at this point. But yeah, again, guys, go ahead and I almost said hit, I almost gave it a thunder punch.
Yeah. We're gonna come up with our own, I think, right? We'll look at some of the attacks on some of those Pokemon, and we'll see what we can put that
Yeah,
notification
yeah.
bell at.
Yeah, we'll come up with a specific Pokemon attack for the podcast
There you
so
go.
that we'll patent that. But yeah, and then on all of the other podcasting platforms, guys, best thing you can do for us on there is leave us a review. Like I said, by the time this podcast goes up, we should be on everything at that point. So you should be able to find us everywhere. And then, like I said, go ahead and leave us a review there. Other than that, guys, we truly appreciate it. We love doing this. As I said, we love Pokemon. We love talking about it, and we look forward to having further discussions in the future. Jules, you want to take us on out, brother?
Sure, guys. Just before we leave, please don't leave us out. Send us more questions. We want to answer your questions for the next episode as well. You have all our socials. Reach out to us. Send us those questions. And I think it's a really nice segment at the end of the video after we do our 2 or 3 topics. It's really great just to interact with you guys directly. It's just another form of almost being live, if you want to call it, especially if you come back and listen to your question get answered. So with that being said, guys, truly, truly appreciated. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Shad and I, from the bottom of our hearts, we really, really appreciate it. And with that being said, that is the end of episode 2 here on the Pokemon Purveyors podcast. Have a great day since we put these in the morning. Have a great day and enjoy.
Peace, everybody.